is, unlike this member, I stand up for my constituents, and I ensure they get value for their tax dollars.
Resuming debate, reprise de débat. The member for Sherwood Fort Saskatchewan has caught my eye.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, what is going on here? We have a 10-year-old government that is neck deep in corruption, and it's another week, another Auditor General's report denouncing the actions of this government. A government that really wants to profess to be new. You know, they're a new government, not new people. It's the same people, but they've changed. They've found religion. You know, they're going to do things differently from now on. This same group of people, Mr. Speaker, as this motion will demonstrate, they have an opportunity to demonstrate the genuineness of their conversion. We have made it easy for them today. We put forward a motion that they can vote for, which will show that they are, in fact, different from the way they were before. This is their opportunity. How helpful we are as the Conservative opposition. We are giving them an opportunity to demonstrate the sincerity of their apparent conversion by voting in favor of this motion. So, Mr. Speaker, a little bit of background for those who are just joining us. Today we are debating a motion from the Conservative Party, the Conservative opposition, that calls on the government to demand the return of money that was improperly taken by GC Strategies. Now, GC Strategies is a two-person company that has gotten tens of millions of taxpayers' dollars. And what they do is something called staff augmentation, right? And if I had known about this, I might have gone into this business instead of going into politics, because it's a really, really good deal. Here's how it works, right? Someone hires you to do a job, and you hire someone else to do that job, but you pay them less than you received in the first place. So, Mr. Speaker, you hire me to paint your fence, and you pay me $100 to paint the fence, and then I hire the member for Kitchener-Waterloo to paint the fence, and I give her $50, and you've given me $100. So you've gotten your fence painted for $100. The other member has earned.
Member for Waterloo.
I just want to make sure that there's no confusion. I don't want to paint the member's fence. Thank you.
Is not a point of order, but I'll let the member for Sherwood Fort Saskatchewan continue.
Mr. Speaker, it is a hypothetical and a ridiculous hypothetical, but ridiculous hypotheticals are required to demonstrate what has actually gone on in government procurement. So you hire me for $100 to paint the fence. I hire someone else for $50 to paint the fence. I collect $50 for doing, you guessed it, nothing. Nothing. And if this happens over and over again to the tune of tens of millions of dollars, you get kind of a sense of the procurement system that has been operating under this government. You have, we're talking about GC Strategies today, but it's important for you and for people at home to understand that there are hundreds of companies that do staff augmentation work in the IT space alone. So you have these two guys working out of the basement that they've got a great business model, right? They get contracts, they hire someone else to do the work, and they collect a massive fee in the middle. But it's not only Christian Firth and Darren Anthony that are doing this work at GC Strategies, this work. There are hundreds of companies doing staff augmentation for the federal government in IT alone. This is a profoundly broken system. And what it comes from is, so first the government makes procurement so complicated, so unwieldy, that almost nobody can understand it. And then you have people who position themselves as experts in nothing except getting contracts. In other words, they're people who understand how to they have the relationships, they have the access, they know how to host the right whiskey tastings for the right people, right? That's a real thing that happened. They know how to host the right whiskey tastings. And so they know how to get government contracts. And then once they get the government contracts, then they go on LinkedIn and find, okay, who are people that actually know how to do this work, and then they hire them. Mr. Speaker, it's like something out of Yes Minister that was rejected for being too unrealistic, right? But this is what actually happens and has happened for the last 10 years under this Liberal government. But now they've changed. Now they've changed. They'll never do it again, Mr. Speaker. They have a new government with the same people who have nonetheless seen the errors of their ways, Mr. Speaker. And you know, when all else fails in this debate, members across the way say, well, yeah, well, didn't we win an election? We won an election after all, Mr. Speaker. Nobody's disputing the results of the election, but I do think it's notable that in order to win the last election, these Liberals had to pretend to be something very different from what they had been for the last 10 years. Their only argument in the election was to say, well, Canadians want change and we've changed too. We'll be nothing like ourselves, right? They promised to be nothing like themselves. And that turned out to be a reasonably successful political strategy. But I think very soon Canadians will discover that they're actually not nothing like themselves. They're actually more like themselves than they pretended to be. And that we will see the continuation of these same absurdist procurement policies, things that if presented as the possible script for a television show, they would be rejected for being unrealistic. The fact that you have people getting hired to hire other people, a procurement system that is so broken and so complicated that only well-connected insider brokers can understand it. Those well-connected insider brokers receive the contracts, hire the people, and collect a massive premium for doing so. And this week, the Auditor General came out with a report having looked in detail into what happened with this one particularly notorious company, GC Strategies, found that there was massive abuse. And just to share one highlight from committee exchanges we've had with GC Strategies, right? They admitted to presenting fraudulent resumes to the government of Canada in order to get work. So, you know, it's the old resume padding that we all tell our children not to do. This is how GC Strategies was getting contracts. And they explained, though, what their normal process was. Their normal process was you get a resume that may not be compliant with the requirements of the bid. So then they adjust the resume to make it compliant. So let's say the contract requires that you have 5 years experience at something. And then the person they're proposing to do the work actually only has 5 months. So they change the months to years to make it compliant, and then they go back to the original resource, the person who would do the work, and they say, is this okay with you, right? We changed the numbers here, is that okay with you? But in one case, they forgot to consult the resource before they changed those numbers, and so that's where they got caught out because the resource called them out for it. But Christian Firth, when he before committee, he admitted that it was a standard part of their process, that they adjust people's resumes to make them line up with the expectations of the contract and then check in to see if it was okay. Again, if this was a pitch for a Yes Minister show, they would reject it for being unrealistic. But this is par for the course in the broken procurement system with the Liberals. And so in order to cover for this, they cycle through these different procurement ministers. It's the same people kind of cycled around. Oh, it's a new minister. It's a new minister. Every 6 months almost on procurement, it's been a new minister who is not responsible for anything that was previously done. Meanwhile, the previous minister goes on to remain in some influential role in this government. It's farce, it's tragedy, and Canadian taxpayers are getting abused as a result of it. But they profess to be a new government. They've changed, Mr. Speaker. So as I said, today is their opportunity. We have put forward a motion that says GC Strategies should be banned from ever getting government contracts, and they should pay the money back. Not that difficult. If you abuse contracting rules, if you falsify resumes, if you don't actually do work, then you should pay back the money that you took from taxpayers. If our friends across the way have truly changed, they should vote for this motion. It would be a great demonstration, not just if they vote for it, mind you, if they actually followed through on it, because sometimes we've had instances where they vote for motions and then don't follow through on it. This is their opportunity to vote for the motion and then to act on the motion. And so we've been asking them today, are they prepared to vote in favor of this motion? And they're trying to fill this debate with kind of the great fog of of nonsense and distraction, and I welcome the member for Winnipeg North. I'm looking forward to receiving that gust of fog. But my question for them is, will they support our motion to pay the money back? If they are the new Liberal Party, then I think they would vote for this motion to order the money back. If they are voting against this motion, then it will demonstrate, of course, that they are the same old Liberals, unchanged as they have always been.
Questions et commentaires. Questions and comments. The member for Waterloo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know the member wanted to hear from one of my dear colleagues, and hopefully there'll be enough time. I listened to the member's comments, and I hear what he's saying, and I really do appreciate the fact that he recognizes that Canadians made a decision on April 28th and that he accepts the decision that they made. What's interesting to me is that we do have a new government. There is a new government of transformation, government transformation. There is new processes in place. There is a desire to want to do better, to really ensure that we have one Canadian economy and that we're fighting for Canadians. What I hear from the member is really a professional opposition member with 10 years experience. I don't doubt he's had any other job that he's done for 10 years. So I would like to hear from that member, how can we as a government and as all members elected to this place work together to ensure that we are delivering results for more Canadians rather than just the same old spiel from the Conservatives? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The member for Sherwood Port for Saskatchewan.
Mr. Speaker, I was surprised to hear such a sharp question from my colleague, because I thought I was very generous in my speech, actually, in terms of giving the government this opportunity to vote in favor of our motion. This opposition motion really is a gift to the government, because we are inviting them to come along with us and to vote in favor of getting this money back from GC Strategies. I think this is the kind of offer of collaboration I think that people are looking for. I would challenge the government. You know, they're supposed to be new. They're supposed to, but here's the point. I suspect they'll actually vote against this motion in the end. But I would challenge them to do the right thing. The member wants to know how we can work together. Vote in favor of this motion. That's how we can work together. That's what we need.
Questions and comments. Questions et commentaires. Le député.
The Honourable Member for Rimouski-La-Matapédia. Thank you very much. I would like to thank my colleague for his speech. A very serious question for him. I'm trying to understand. His party heard from a whistleblower, Luc Sabourin, who came to the committee to explain that he saw certain irregularities, serious irregularities at the CBSA. He said that they contacted the Conservative Party, but there was no follow-up. It took years for the Conservatives to put forward this issue, and then we went to committee. I'd like to hear my colleague on the following. Why did it take so many years to say that finally we should act on this particular scandal?
For Sherwood Park for Saskatchewan.
Monsieur le Président, je peux dire.
Mr. Speaker, I can say that we've worked hard with whistleblowers on this matter. I don't quite remember this case in particular, but I can state that we worked diligently with other opposition parties. We've worked tooth and nail to try and force the government to answer our questions. And it's clear that the government, well, it's always necessary for the opposition to act for actions. Thank you.
Questions et commentaires. The member for Edmonton West.
Mr. Speaker, we heard in committee repeatedly from actually the Deputy Minister of PSPC that they're aware of many cases of fraud like GC Strategies, but they're negotiating with the contractors to receive the money back for taxpayers, not demanding it back, but negotiating. We heard from a parliamentary secretary today saying that despite them banning GC Strategies from bidding on business because of the known corruption and the fraud, they won't seek the money until they get a legal opinion. I wonder if my colleague could weigh in on why this government is so fighting Parliament and common sense to get the money back for Canadians.
For Sherwood Park for Saskatchewan.
You know, Mr. Speaker, it underlines, this question underlines the problem with this government in terms of whose side they really are on. Because compare the way they treat elite insiders who have abused the rules and taken money from taxpayers versus what would happen to everyday Canadians who might have a dispute with CRA, for example, about what is owed. The gentleness with which this government approaches elite insider contractors, even those who have flagrantly broken the rules, versus how ordinary Canadians are treated, shows that, in fact, this government is persistently on the side of their elite insider friends.
Reprise de débat, resuming debate. The member for Peterborough.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to just note that I'll be sharing my time with the member from Trois-Rivières. And it feels like a great opportunity to introduce myself. I've heard a lot about the old government. I'm new here. You'll have a great opportunity to meet me later. And as well, I believe my colleague next to me is also from Carleton, the new member from Carleton, and new after 20 years. Yes, yeah, absolutely. Mr. Speaker, the Government of Canada accepts the findings of the latest Auditor General of Canada's report related to the procurement of professional services. We take this report and all subsequent recommendations seriously and remain fully committed to fairness, openness, and transparency in federal procurement practices. Simply put, we are committed to protecting the integrity of procurement. While that commitment remains, our new government will do things differently. Elected with a mandate to deliver change, we will take a